Good afternoon, everybody, and we're live on the air. Today is Monday, October 14th, and today, right now, we will get to the NLCS. So, the Nationals have a could take a 3-0 lead in the NLCS tonight. If they beat the Cardinals, it is possible tomorrow that the Nationals could be in the World Series tomorrow night. If they sleep in 4, that is the best case scenario. Or worst case scenario is for the Nationals, and best for the Cardinals is they win 4 in a row and win on Friday night. So those are just the two possible scenarios. So tonight, for the Nationals on the mound will be Steven Strasburg. He will be going up against Jack Flaherty from the Cardinals, and for Strasburg, in his 2 games against the Dodgers, I think he has a combined 17 strikeouts and 13 innings against the Dodgers. And for Flaherty, this is his second start. Flaherty pitched 10 days ago in Game 2 against the Braves, and went fairly well. Went fairly deep in the game. Gave him about 7 innings, and lost 3-0, and then had 10 runs of support before anything really started against the Braves last week in Game 5. So now Flaherty takes the ball against Strasburg. So again, both games kind of somewhat high stakes, since again Strasburg, and there's not as much pressure for Strasburg this time, since obviously in LA, going into Game 2, I had to make sure that the Nationals did not fall down 0-2. And when you're down 0-2 in the individual series, it is much harder to come back than say if you tied up at 1-1. And it was a Game 5 elimination game. Had to make sure they're not eliminated, and did his part by not letting the Dodgers get further and further ahead. Kept the Nationals in the game, and eventually it paid off. And the Nationals ended up winning by the score of, it was 7-3 when they won. So Strasburg's won both of his playoff starts. His team has won. And for Jack Flaherty, again, had an opportunity to give the Cardinals a 2-0 lead and pitching a high-stakes Game 5. And when it was 10-0 when he came into the game, so obviously the stress level went down significantly than say if it was 0-0 or 1-0. And now when you're down 0-2, the Cardinals already have to rely on Flaherty to prevent them from bringing down 3-0. Since again, 2-1, you can overcome it. Sure, you're in danger of being down 3-1, but you can overcome 2-1 as long as you tie the series, and then not that long later you could be up 3-2 in the series or whatever. So very important for the Cardinals to get the series back to 2-1. Nationals, if they have a 3-0 lead, they will be in great shape to go to the World Series. Well, basically, I mean, again, 3-0 is not 4-0. It's not over till it's over, right? But again, the Nationals will have much, much higher odds of winning the series if they go up 3-0. So kind of the first few games, the Cardinals, and believe it or not, this goes back to Game 5. Remember how they just struck against the Braves? Well, people forgot about their offense really kind of quieting down the rest of that game. Well, it carried over, and they're 4 for 55 in the series. 4 for 55, if you read the numbers correctly, or 4 for 57. So 4 for 57. Jose Martinez has 2 hits. And I heard the news that he may very well be in the lineup tonight. I thought about it. Should you bring Jose Martinez in the lineup, since obviously his hitting is not a strength of his. Or his hitting is. I meant to say his defense is not a strength. So obviously the Cardinals kept him out of the lineup for those purposes. So where do you put him now? Is he along with so do you put him do you pair him in the out? Do you pair him?
Burke's doing a podcast right now.
With
Okay.
So do you pair him? Where do you put him? Probably a corner spot, probably right field. He is always been in right field during his career or first base. I think that's where he belongs, in right uh, field. So maybe that jump starts it. Maybe it's the type of thing that it just jump starts the Cardinals, and they come back, and when they get back to St. Louis, they're down 3-2 if they win 2 out of 3 in Washington. So we'll see. We'll see how that lineup move ends up working, and Victor Robles will be back for the Nationals. He's missed about 10 days, 10-day IL sent, about equivalent to that when he got hurt in Los Angeles, and has not played since back in Game 2. So the surprise storyline for the Nationals was Anibal Sanchez, who pitched fairly well against the Dodgers. I think struck out 9 in 5 innings, but I think struck out 7 and had a no-hitter for 7 and 2/3 innings. And the Dodgers did not get a hit until I'm sorry, I keep messing things up. The Cardinals did not get a hit until until the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 outs. So that's what happens. So that's what happens there. And talking about the Cardinals' offense, no one is hit. I mean, not Ozuna, not Goldschmidt, who are by far their best hitters against the Braves. Huge reason why they won the series. They have yet to do anything at the plate. I mean, you go. You can talk about the whole team. Nobody is hitting. This is a team effort, and the Nationals allowed just 4 combined hits. So again, it just seemed like a good example of the plays that they were making. The Cardinals just couldn't catch a break. I mean, think about who contributed in Game 1. Yan Gomes hit the double on a hanging slider. Gave the Nationals a 1-0 lead. And think about this play. Matt Carpenter trying to jumpstart the offense by beating the shift of a bunt. Anthony Rendon's right there. Or whatever, you can go on and on and on. Sanchez getting strikeouts. Or think about Colton Wong stealing third. Well, guess what? Gets out of the inning there. That's in the 4th inning. I think he had a few hit by pitches, but he always seems to get out of the innings. He's very, very efficient. And granted, you think about it, just 2 years prior, Anibal Sanchez it's kind of funny. I read an article, I think it was in The Athletic, where if he didn't sign at a certain point in spring training, I think it was by February 27th, he would have just retired. That was in 2018. I think he went to the Twins. Didn't work out there, went to Atlanta, became a key part of them last year, and then was eventually put into their rotation and really became a key part of why they won the division. He's probably their best starter. Pitched against the Dodgers in the playoffs, and then comes to Washington on a 2-year deal. And after using Scherzer and Strasburg, that combined 3 times in the series against the Dodgers, you call Sanchez for Game 1. And talking about the series, I was thinking the Nationals can win the first 2 in St. Louis. They have a great opportunity to sweep. And I was thinking that the Cardinals, they need to win Game 1. Since it's Scherzer in Game 2, the odds are against you. You cannot go down 0-2 back to Washington. And now you have Strasburg to give you a 3-0 lead. And you have Corbin tomorrow, who, again, I have not really had a hard time trusting Corbin in the series, but still, he's going to get an opportunity to get the sweep, so that's just something you cannot do. And Miles Michaels pitched a good game. He pitched fairly well, but he just ended up giving that 1 runner. I think it was 2 runs. And then that's basically, I think that's basically what happened. And for the Cardinals, talking about their bullpen, since yes, they did use the starters. And by the way, it was Kendrick that drove in the second run to give them the 2-0 lead in the 7th. So Howie Kendrick has come huge. I think he got the hit. I think it was off Andrew Miller, since again the Cardinals, or no, it was not Andrew Miller, it was John Brebbia. So what happened is the Cardinals, they like to really mix up their bullpen. They don't have, like, even as bad as the Nationals bullpen is, watching the Cardinals throughout the playoffs, they don't really have like a set bullpen, or okay, you go in this, okay, starter, we want you to do this, and then okay, we have their guy in the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. They're not really like that. Not even the Yankees are like that, other than Chapman. but unlike the Nationals, where it's basically starter, Doolittle, Hudson, the Cardinals, they've done a lot of mixing and matching, it seems like. So they've used a bunch of different right-handers. Sure, they've used Andrew Miller. And then basically what happened is Sean Doolittle got the save since Daniel Hudson. I mean, I recommend reading about him. You just type in Daniel Hudson. He had a child actually on Friday, and he couldn't pitch in Game 1. So I'd recommend reading about it. Jeff Passion of ESPN wrote an outstanding article. I would recommend reading that. So that's pretty much what happened. Sean Doolittle gets a 4-out save, and Sanchez. I mean, I want to ask you this: Anibal Sanchez pitching 7-2 innings, taking a no-hitter. It gets 23 outs before allowing a hit. Was I expecting that? No, I was never expecting that. But that's exactly what happened. And that's how the Nationals won Game 1. I mean, it was Sanchez, Kendrick, and Gomes who basically took over, who provide the offense. Game 2 was a little bit, it was about Scherzer, and he was dominant. Struck out the side in the first inning, mixed in the slider, the fastball. That was his primary weapon. His primary weapon ended up having 6 strikeouts through 3, 9 through 5. And that's what happened. He ended up getting 11 strikeouts overall. And believe it or not, Max Scherzer went 6 innings without giving up a hit. So the Cardinals' success against starters was basically nothing, other than Scherzer giving up a single. I think Sanchez giving up a single. That was it. And now the Cardinals did manage to score a run in the second game, but basically what it was is it ended up being so it was hit. Oh, we gotta go. Okay, let me quit then. Hi everybody, this is Brookline. Welcome back. Listen, I want to apologize for what happened yesterday, and it's all completely my fault. So what I tried to do is I tried to cram in a video, and then I had something to do yesterday. I tried to cram in. It turned out I didn't have enough time, so I had to cut off early. But I'm back on now, and where I was last night, that was before Game 3 of the NLCS. I tried to cram an episode before then, but I didn't. So we'll go ahead and talk Games 2 and Game 3. So where I was yesterday, I was talking about the Cardinals' offense, and they completely failed to score any runs at all, during the series. They had just one run in the first 2 games, and really, how they scored it, Jose Martinez at a line drive to Michael A. Taylor, where in most cases, it should be caught, should be out of the inning. He misjudged it. It went over his head. It looked like there was momentum. There wasn't, and the Cardinals did not score again. And so how did the Nationals score the runs? It's kind of interesting in Game 2. Michael A. Taylor hitting a home run, who shouldn't be starting. Victor Robles didn't get hurt in Los Angeles. He wouldn't be starting. That was huge. And then Adam Eaton breaking the game open when it was 1-0, making it 3-0. So just timely hitting, great starting pitching. Think about the starting pitching. 7 innings, or 7 2/3 innings. 14 2/3 innings combined. Sanchez went 7 2/3. Scherzer went 7. So just a great day, and that's what happened. The Cardinals didn't hit it all in St. Louis, and now they're down 0-2. So Game 3 last night, that was a really good game. You had Strasburg and Flaherty, and for the Cardinals, and I talked about at the beginning of the show, for Flaherty, this was their big opportunity to get back in it. And what happened? So sorry about that. So what happened is it didn't really work out. I thought the one time the Cardinals really had momentum was Ozuna leads off the second for double, right? Well, the next batter, I think it's Jose Martinez, it's a ground ball right back to Strasburg. Ozuna's in no man's land instead of runner on second, 1 out at the very least. Now you have runners on first, 1 out. That completely changed the game. And the second point was fly ball down the left field line. Ozuna slides. A catch that, I guess it was kind of a hard play. You obviously had to go a long way if you're sliding. But couldn't make the catch. Just went out of his glove. Eaton scores from first, and it's 2-0. And that was really the turning point. So again, you have Jack Flaherty on the mound against Strasburg, who Strasburg is this point in time, after he allowed only one run, you could say that he's one of the greatest postseason pitchers ever, really. I mean, I'm going to have to look up his exact numbers, but I'm sure there's astonishing. I mean, he really added to his resume this postseason. And again, that's the reason why the Nationals have a 3-0 lead. I mean, he gave them, preventing them from being down 0-2. Was the pitcher that kept them in that Game 5 that they would eventually gone to win. And now is almost certainly going to the World Series. And if he pitches again, I think it would be in a Game 7 that will almost certainly never be played. So a 3-0 lead for the Nationals. And that's basically what happened. So the Cardinals, as I said earlier, went with some changes. They decided to go with Jose Martinez in Game 3, and that did not really. I guess he was their best hitter last night. That's what I'd say, was their best hitter last night. But really, then things started to pour on. I mean, think about who contributed last night. Howie Kendrick, 3 doubles, including 3 RBIs. Drove it. Had a 2-run RBI. I think that made the score 4-0. I think it was at 30. I think Flaherty had a pass ball or a wild pitch, one of those, and then Kendrick hits a double, and then I think hit another double to make the score. So he had another RBI double, and then Zimmerman had an RBI double, an RBI single. And how about this? Who I want to give props to, Victor Robles, who came off the bench. Or not off the bench, had not played since Game 2 against the Dodgers 10 days prior. Came off the bench, scored the first run of the game when Eaton drove him in, and of course hit a home run. Victor Robles contributed, so the biggest contributors last night again. Kendrick, Zimmerman. Zimmerman's had a good series so far. So has Kendrick. I think he's driven in 4 runs this series. Rendon came up big, obviously, with that RBI double. And one stat about the Nationals is most of their runs came with 2 outs. That was the astonishing thing. 2-out runs. So again, that's how the Red Sox won the World Series last year by scoring 2-out runs. And then Strasburg, who struck out the side in the 7th to get 9, or 10, 11, and 12, including all of them past the 100-pitch mark. And what was even more remarkable is that he appeared to get some sort of minor cramp or whatever. Davey Martinez was coming to take him out. That was right after he allowed the first run on an RBI single. And he went ahead and struck out the next 2 he faced. This is Strasburg of legend. We're seeing one of the greatest postseason pitchers, maybe in MLB history. One of the very best in MLB history. And you know what? Strasburg, A, has a Game 7 that will almost certainly never happen. And will have, more than likely, I think it's the fall allergies. I think also had the, at the other point, had the, is going to pitch in the World Series. So Strasburg's going to pitch, very almost certainly going to pitch in the World Series. He could add that to his resume as well. And talk about the starting pitching. Every starter goes 7 innings in the series. In fact, 4 times the Nationals starter this playoffs have gone 7 innings. Scherzer did that, and now the rest of the rotation does the same. Sanchez, Scherzer, Strasburg. Will Corbin follow suit tomorrow night? That will be interesting to see. I don't know for sure. And not only that, you got to rest Doolittle and Hudson, so they could be all ready to go and send the Nationals to the World Series. So it's Corbin versus Hudson tonight. So for the Cardinals, what they have done wrong is they've done pretty much everything wrong you could think of. They have failed to hit completely. I mean, think about this. Failing to hit. In this series, 0, 1, 1 run. 2 runs in 3 games. 2 runs in 3 games. This is the same team that scored 10 runs in the first inning against the Braves. This is the exact same team that did that. Or that scored all the runs they needed. This is a team that can score. I mean, they scored 7 against the Braves in game 1. They came back, I think, scored, 5? And that 5-4 win in that game 4. We know what this Braves team is capable of. But they've just come up short. Or what this Cardinals team is capable of. I'm sorry. What this Cardinals team is capable of. We know what they're capable of. On offense, it just hasn't shown. I think the Nationals have significantly better starting pitching than the Braves. I think that's the key. Starting pitching, and they're starting pitching. Who, in all the games they've won, think about how great Strasburg was in Game 2 in Los Angeles. How great Scherzer was Game 4 last Monday in Washington. You could go on to Strasburg again, Anibal Sanchez, and here we go again. Full circle. So obviously, starting pitching has been there the entire time for the Nationals. And that is what is going to get them very likely into the World Series. Starting pitching. Sure, timely hitting, of course. You know, their offense showed up last night. Since again, the Cardinals pitched fairly well those first 2 games. Michaels and Wainwright pitched well. Especially the Nationals just got more hits than the Cardinals did, obviously. They had more base runners scored. I think, and all of a sudden, this Cardinals team is down 0-3. What do they need to do? They need to score runs, obviously. They need to score runs. They're going to have to rely on Dakota Hudson to save their season. Obviously, you think you go back to Michaels in Game 5. Kind of Wainwright in Game 6 back in St. Louis. They have to do something historic. That's happened just one time in baseball history. And it's very rare the rest of professional sports. I think it happens in the National Hockey League occasionally from time to time, 0-3. But either way, this is a very hard thing to come back from. So if the Nationals are in the World Series tonight, this would be incredible. This would be great. I'm sure I'll be excited. I'm sure I'll be celebrating. The Nationals' first trip to the World Series, that is almost certain. I don't want to assume anything yet. But the Nationals are in complete control of the series, and they look to go to the World Series. And if they win tomorrow,